Damn, more Gianna legs. I'm just saying. With this chapter, we definitely got a couple different things going on. First of all, in the beginning, the exposition. It was a bit interesting, but it definitely felt a bit overcomplicated at times. And then when you look at it, a lot of these characters are like, oh, my brother's here, my daughter's here. And it's for characters that aren't really too particularly important, like, Spartos and Pisty. And a lot of these characters is like, there's so many characters on the field at times, it almost gets a bit overwhelming. And that's what I felt with the beginning of this particular chapter. It felt a bit overwhelming. It's like, whoa, a lot of stuff to digest with this particular chapter. But I like a lot of the little subtleties that we got in this chapter as well. For starters, I want to talk about the whole thing with Sinbad and Yunnan. They only exchanged dialogue slightly, but judging from the way things went with their dialogue, it's safe to say that Sinbad and Yunnan possibly aren't the best of friends or anything. And the way Sinbad was talking, like, oh, so what were these little hints you gave to Morgiana? And it's kind of like maybe they don't get along all that well. And it's like, okay, well, who do you trust? Because for me, Sinbad has been giving off this vibe of a sneaky little bastard for a while now, but at the same time, we don't know much about Yunnan, so it's like, if there is some sort of conflict and they have a dislike for each other, at the end of the day, it's going to be more than likely the reason they dislike each other is because of their motives and overall goals and where they're trying to go with their, particular things, unless maybe Yunnan offered Sinbad to make him king or whatever, and Sinbad refused or something like that. And I wouldn't be surprised, because when it comes to Sinbad at this point, I think that he wants to be the one in charge and completely control everything, and that's possibly why he wouldn't mind Aladdin being the Magi for Sindria, because especially back when he offered Aladdin the position of Magi of Sindria, Aladdin still didn't really know all that much as he knows now, because now, he knows even more of what's going on, and he possibly thought maybe I could get over on this kid and, have him as my Magi and still keep him in the dark about a lot of things that I'm planning on doing and how I do things. Because Sinbad isn't the most clean-cut guy either. There's some things that I can clearly see going on with him that is sneaky, and even Jafar was looking at Sinbad like, yo, this guy is a bit crazy. So I really like the little subtle hints between the two not having such a great relationship. Even him saying, it's been a while since you showed yourself. One of my personal favorite parts of the chapter was definitely the stuff with Morgiana. Now she got more development as far as the whole thing with her chains. She could pretty much use them to fly. But we also see in a way, it kind of hints that she probably didn't go to the Dark Continent this entire time. I wouldn't be surprised if Yunnan somehow persuaded her to just stay with him and he trained her the entire time that we haven't seen her, and she never even went. Because the way it was hinted, it seems as though, she got development, she knows how to work her chains, and she clearly has some sort of bond with Yunnan and, knows him a bit more than when we previously seen them. They just, were introduced. But it seems as though she still wants to learn more. She still wants to become more stronger. So she's definitely not at her peak or at a level where it's like, yo, she's godlike. She still has much to learn as well, because she even questions him about wanting to get that power, obtain that power of them, like, combining. And when he told her pretty much that she wouldn't even be human anymore, it makes you think, okay, so maybe Morgiana really didn't go to the Dark Continent yet, or if she did, maybe just her people really weren't there. I'm leaning more towards she didn't even go to begin with. She's still with Yunnan, and Yunnan convinced her one way or another that maybe it's not the right time. But she's definitely more advanced with her chains, and it was just freaking awesome to see that Morgiana, yeah, she's not where I thought she was at this particular point. I thought she would be a little bit more advanced than where she is, because she's kind of, again, it hints off that she's not at that, top tier level yet. She still has much to learn, but it did give her some advancement and development, so it's like give and take with it. And we seemingly got the death of Scheherazade, one of the Magi, the old one, in this chapter, and it was about time for her to, go already. It's been saying, she's been around for a while, any minute now she could croak, and it just really reminds me once again the whole thing with Titus. That really got me sad with the Magna Star arc, Titus, the clone of her or whatever. It was just such a sad thing, and now her finally leaving and giving everyone the Magoi. It was done properly. It was sad, and I could definitely see some sort of crying scene at the end somewhere there, but it was a proper send-off with Scheherazade, I gotta say, with her especially giving the Magoi at the end. There was like one last thing she could possibly do, and it was a good way to do it. That extreme magic combo with everyone going extreme magic was epic, though. That was one of the highlights of the chapter for sure. It was like the entire world combining together, because at the end of the day, they all have a common thing that they all can relate with, and that's that fuck Al-Thaman, and they all went in on Father, and seemingly he's dead at the end of this chapter. Even Gyokuin and the rest of them were kind of like worried, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone at this particular point. It did feel a bit rushed, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing this because the anime is about to come out soon again with a second season, and maybe they want to wrap everything up with this particular arc in that anime, that second season. So it did feel a bit rushed in the end, and I mean, if Father's gonna be dead at this point, then yeah, let him be dead, because this is like about third or fourth fourth time where it almost looked identical of the way, like, you know, Father's getting disintegrated, it's over, it's, you know, the end. If this is indeed the end, then let it be the end. But it's going to feel a little bit like, if they bring him back once again after this particular point, because now the entire world just attacked him, and if the entire world hitting him doesn't stop him, then what the hell will? Especially even when it's hinted that Gyokuin and the rest of Althamen is worried about his well-being. And this would just be a great point to stop it and let Althamen go on and escape and, you know, prepare for their next attack. So yeah, definitely gotta say that it felt a little bit rushed in the end, and I'm just a little concerned of what they're gonna do next, because, again, if Father's dead, then let him be dead, but don't keep on dragging it out any further when, you know, it kind of feels like it already was rushed, where literally we got them introduced in the last chapter, everybody showed up, and then he's gone in the next chapter. So let's just, you know, finish off Father and continue on, because the whole thing of also what I was talking about, I felt like Magi is ending, apparently, because a couple of people hit me up. I checked the blog, and apparently she has a blog, the writer of Magi, and about, in the beginning of Magnustat, she said that the manga was about 1/4 of the way through, and that was like early 100. So this manga could possibly go into the 400s of chapters, so we might have just scratched the surface of where Magi's really gonna go, which once again hints that, yeah, maybe this might be the end of Father, and Althamen will retreat for now. Who knows, they might not even be the real threat to begin with. Sinbad. And it was interesting also that Sinbad clarified that he's not there to announce war against anybody else, him and the Alliance. They're only there with the common interest of Father needs to die because he doesn't belong here. But that was good that it was added in there, because it kind of also made it seem like, yo, we're going to go into a war right here, co-empire versus them. You know, how's it going to go down? So I'm glad that that was clarified as well. So overall with this chapter, it gave some good stuff. It got a little bit of advancement. It seems as though Father is finally put down. We also got development with Morgiana, and we got a little bit of hinting with Sinbad and Yunnan having a not-so-friendly relationship. But the defeat of Father just felt a bit rushed, and also the exposition of the beginning of this chapter just felt a bit overwhelming with a lot of characters and a lot of just like relationships being mentioned, and it just felt a little bit messy in the beginning. I'm gonna give this one 8 out of 10. It did some very good things. Again, Father seems to be done, but overall, I'm hoping that they didn't actually rush just because of the anime, and this was the way it was planned, because it just seems a little off that, you know, the entire world is there, and Father dies in a chapter. So I'm a little skeptical, but still 8 out of 10, very good. I'm excited to see where this is going to go, because if Magi is only like a little over 1/4 of the way through, we have a lot of ground to cover, and I can't freaking wait. But let me know what you guys think. First of all, do you think that it's official Morgiana didn't actually go to the Dark Continent, and she's still with Yunnan training? Because it seems that way. Do you think that that's the case? And also, do you think this is the end of Father, the threat? He's done, he's gone, the world actually took him out. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up for the entire world going extreme magic on that ass, because it was pretty freaking awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.